Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I know it's been a long time, but I've been very busy with work and trying to live somewhat of a normal life these days. But today we're going to be talking about a game that has been one of my favorites for the last decade at least, and that game is Planetside 2. Planetside is a game I have played for a very long time, and it's a game I really enjoy playing to this day. The game has evolved a lot from its early days into what it is now, and many people can argue for the better or for the worst. But all in all, I feel like this is a game, or at least this game, has so much more to offer than most people realize. PlanetSide is a free to play, combat, military, strategic, tactical, casual, competitive FPS, combined arms, open world, MMO shooter. I think I got it all. I think that's about it. Planetside is one of those games where if you want to be serious, you can be serious, and then 10 minutes later you can change your mind and have fun messing around in a vehicle or taunting people as an infiltrator, and then 5 minutes later go back to being serious and tactical. You know, Planetside is also a game where you can hop on with your friends, roll together as a squad or a platoon. It's also a game where you don't have to worry about how many people you have on your Discord, because even if you have 90 people, let's say, in your Discord, every single person can hop on the game and play with each other at the same time, having or without having to worry about swapping people in and out of the game, and you know, all that shit that you would have to do in games like League of Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, and all that shit. While the graphics in PlanetSide are 100% outdated and look like they came straight out of the end of the PS3 era, which, you know, it really kind of did, because I think the game came out before PlayStation 4 came out. It has a lot more to offer when it comes to the gameplay aspect of the game. People will look at PlanetSide and be like, well, with a map so big, I don't want to play, you know, running simulator like a lot of people say with Squad and other games like that. Well, in the end of the day, you don't have to. You know, you can click a button, which is actually the U key by default, and you can redeploy and drop pod right into the biggest fight on the map. PlanetSide is a game that scratches the itch of people who like tank gameplay, aircraft gameplay, sniper gameplay, close quarters, combat, you know, that little bit of tactical gameplay when it comes to, you know, reinforcing fights, making plays, you know, those last minute saves at the very last second, you know, those clutch plays, and honestly just all out warfare. It's honestly a game of, you know, complete epic proportions, and it's something that to this day a lot of other games can't even come close to. You know, when it comes to progression, PlanetSide has its own way of doing it. PlanetSide lets you progress in the direction you want to progress. You know, it doesn't force you to go into any other way. You know, they also have, you know, missions and outfit progression that I personally feel hasn't been fully fleshed out yet. But in terms of gameplay progression, if you want to do nothing but be a transport flyer or a transport driver, then you can definitely do that. You can put all your time and all your certs, and certs are PlanetSide's in-game currency, into making your transport vehicle better and more catered to your playstyle. Same goes for if you want to do nothing but be a medic. Then you can put all your certs into your medic and buy assault rifles for your medic and get different equipment to have a very versatile combat medic. So in theory, the progression in this game is based on your playstyle and the different ways you as an individual want to play the game. And the gameplay of PlanetSide can definitely be very hectic. And I mean that in every way possible. With hundreds of players fighting on a single map, or all on a smaller base within those maps. PlanetSide allows you to spawn in an aircraft, do a bombing run on hundreds of players, and without any loading screens, go to the opposite side of this exact huge map and drop more bombs on a separate group of 100 players. You know, so the scale of PlanetSide is one of the major factors that make it different, aside from the vehicles and the classes and all that other shit that PlanetSide comes with. And, you know, speaking of that, PlanetSide has multiple factions, which are basically the teams of this game, per se. The Vanu Sovereignty the New Conglomerate, and the Terran Republic. These three factions have a short form people usually notify them as, which is the VS for the Vonu Sovereignty, the NC for the New Conglomerate, and the TR for Terran Republic, basically taking the first two letters of each word and putting it together. The Vonu, or VS, I should say, have access to hover tanks that can boost, known as the Mag Rider, as well as an Empire-specific fighter called the Scythe, which is highly annoying. Due to the Vonu's more futuristic ways, they get access to very accurate laser weapons and AoE pulse LMGs and pulse weapons. Their max suit is very nimble, but with a glass cannon ability that lets you do more damage, but you take more damage in the process. The NC have access to a very, very heavy tank with a shield known as the Vanguard, as well as a bulky shotgun-wielding ESF known as the Reaver. The NC have probably the best shotguns and hard-hitting weapons, but they are also very slow-firing weapons. While their max suit is the kind of pushing king in close quarters areas due to its shields that it can deploy and, dual arm shotguns basically it gets on each arm. The TR has access to a double tap lockdown tank known as the Prowler, which is honestly a beautiful tank. Their ESF is tiny but faster, known as the Mosquito. The TR have access to faster firing weapons with a higher mag count, while their max has access to a lockdown feature similar to the Prowler that can honestly make it the best anti-air in the game outside of the Skyguard. Planetside has multiple classes. You got the Infiltrator, the Light Assault, the Combat Medic, Engineer, Heavy Assault, and everyone's favorite point pusher, the Max Suit, which is Planetide's version of a Juggernaut suit. Each class in Planetside offers exclusive weapons and abilities that only one class can use, with the exception of the Engineer and Light Assault. Infiltrators give you access to bolt-action sniper rifles capable of one-tapping enemies in the head, a motion sensor dart that can be shot at a distance, the ability to cloak and go invisible, as well as hack enemy terminals and base turrets and use them against each other. Light Assaults give you the access to carbine rifles, as well as engineers, come equipped with a burst anti-armor rocket rifle, smoke grenades, and their main use is the jump jets that allow them to scale buildings and mountains with ease. Combat Medics give you access to wonderful sets of assault rifles, a medic gun to heal and revive enemies, an AoE heal as their ability, as well as a revive grenade that can, of course, revive anyone in the area at a good distance away, from around corners, in a room, and so on and so on. Engineers give you access also to the carbine rifles, similar to the assault rifles, but give you access to a wider variety of things, which includes, but is not limited to, the anti-infantry turrets, anti-vehicle turrets, ammo packs, tank mines, sticky grenades, etc. But the engineer has a wonderful main tool called the repair tool, which allows you to repair vehicles, personal and enemy, well, not enemy, but personal base turrets, terminals, constructions, bases, and everyone's favorite max suits. Heavy Assault have access to LMGs, anti-armor, anti-air rocket launchers, an overshield is an ability, and an anti-armor and anti-repair grenade. The Heavy Assault is also classified as the best 1v1 combat class due to the overshield to absorb damage. The max suit, based on your faction, has access to different weapons, but the common weapons between the maxes are the Gorgon and the NS Burster, which is an anti-air weapon. Maxes have the ability to dual wield weapons or mix and match if you really want to, like having a anti-vehicle with an anti-air on the other arm. Planetside also has a variety of different vehicles for the players to use. The vehicles I'm going to mention are only the vehicles that every player has access to as long as resources are available. First off is the Flash, which is a two-seater capable ATV of having a front-mounted weapon only usable by the driver. there are no max suits capable of riding on the Flash. The Harasser is a 3-seater buggy with access to a top-mounted weapon, boost, and a bigger rear seat that does allow a max to fit as well as shoot out of it. The Lightning is a 1-seater tank capable of swapping to a very impressive anti-air flat cannon known as the Skyguard, which is arguably the best anti-air in the game and also my personal favorite. The Lightning is not capable to be driven as a max. The Sunderer is a 2-seater transport which is the bread and butter of Planetside. The Sunderer is capable of deploying outside of no deploy zone, which allows allies of the same faction to respawn onto them, making it much easier to capture bases, and probably is the most important vehicle in the game. The Sunderer has 2 top-mounted weapon slots with access to a gate shield diffuser, which allows you to drive right through enemy vehicle shields. The Sunderer is also capable of carrying multiple max suits. The Ant is a 4-seater resource collector with 1 top-mounted weapon slot, which is also capable of being a spawn point, but not by default. The Ant is the main vehicle needed in order to build construction bases. The Ant is also not capable of carrying max suits. The Valkyrie is a 6-seater dropship with a single bottom-mounted weapon slot, which is honestly, I'd say made for light ground support, but mainly the Valkyrie is a quick troop transport. The Liberator has 3 seats. It is a gunship that can cause complete devastation in the right hands. A single Liberator that is not dealt with in a fight can stop a full 25-man push with ease, if not more, if every single person in the Liberator knows what they're doing and is untouched. The Liberator is mounted with 3 weapon slots. 1 for the front, usable only by the pilot, a bottom-mounted main weapon, and a rear-mounted weapon slot as well. The Galaxy is a 12-seater dropship transport aircraft with 4 gunner seats, 1 on each side, 1 on the top, and 1 on the rear of the craft. The Galaxy is the main way of doing controlled drops onto a point, which allows the player to not take any fall damage while jumping out of the Galaxy. The other 2 variants of vehicles are the MBTs, main battle tanks, and the ESFs, the Empire Specific Fighters, like the Prowler and Scythe that have been mentioned before. All these vehicles allow for different ways to play the game, and it also allows you to be insanely helpful to your team without having to fire a single bullet, for those of you who may feel like they're really not that good at FPS games. Which brings us to this next question. Why is Planetside so underrated? Planetside has multiple things going for it, and if that is the case, why does it seem like it gets no game time in the public eye? The truth behind that is, honestly, because nobody even really knows the game exists. And the game has no proper marketing, no advertisements, and that's honestly the main problem that Planetside is facing right now. By far, it is not the only problem the game has, but the game still manages to hold itself on the more positive side of the reviews, and that is including the Steam reviews. Planetside had a good amount of players playing it when it initially launched, but all the bugs and poor game design elements had a lot of people leaving the game behind. So what about now, in 2022? How does Planetside play now as a 10-year-old game? Well, that question is also up for debate, because if you ask a few Planetside veterans, many would say the game is much better now, but you will also get those few people who prefer how the game was before. A lot of people feel the game is too much, and there is too much to do and too much to remember. And to that I say clearly, none of those people have played Arma 3 or Escape from Tarkov, as both of those games have way more stuff to remember in just the movement aspect of the game. Not to mention all the guns you have to remember, all the different maps you have to remember, the different angles you have to remember. That's just part of FPS gameplay, and Planetside still doesn't even come close to those 2 games in terms of what you need to remember to be efficient in those games. So I will leave it at this. Play the game. The game is free to play. There is no pay to win aspects. So the worst that can happen is you don't like the game and you uninstall it. So give the game a try and develop your own opinion on how the game feels for you. And I also recommend playing this game on peak hours, which is around 6 p.m. Eastern time, give or take. So try it, mess around, have fun, and let me know in the comments what you feel about the game. And until next time, stay safe out there, folks, and have a wonderful time.